Welcome to the Halloween Horror Timelines Part 3. And today we are talking about The Night He Came Home. I am joined here tonight with my dad and with Malcolm to give our thoughts on the 1978 classic and the maybe equally 1981 classic sequel. Let's find out tonight here in the Halloween Horror Timelines. So we got some creepy stuff tonight, guys. We are looking at Halloween 1978, the original classic one, and the first sequel in 1981. We're going to be talking first about 1978. And who wants to go first to give their thoughts on the perennial classic Halloween, The Night He Came Home?
You can go first, Glenn.
Thanks a lot. It's the best after lot. Not much to say about it, really. It's the best. The rest just came after. So there's not much you can say. It was a good movie. I sat in the theater, and I've got it on video and watched it dozens and dozens of times. So I always enjoy it.
Now, for me, for the 1978 film, I saw it initially. The first time I saw this was cut. Actually, it was censored because it was on TV. It was on, I think, it was on NBC or ABC, one of those movies of the week. I would rent it later on VHS, and I would see it later in theater, but obviously not when it came out. This is, like Dad says, it's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. It's not just a film that kind of revolutionized and helped like slasher horror come to the forefront. It's not the first slasher horror. I consider that to be Black Christmas, 1974. No, I don't consider Psycho to be a slasher. But this one here is the one that really kind of popularized it. The cast is absolutely fantastic in this film. We get a fantastic director with John Carpenter. The score. If anytime you want to talk about a score making a film or a score being so just like a part of the DNA of cinema, you look towards Halloween because this movie, the score is paramount. It is incredible. Like John Carpenter brings back some of the people that he had in, obviously with his previous film. We get he's working with Deborah Hill, and Deborah Hill did most of the writing for the female characters. So the female, like the female teenagers, yeah, they do. They seem very real, and it seems like very realistic dialogue for and of its time. And still to this day, there's something that's kind of, although it is like steeped in the late 70s, there's something that is very timeless about Halloween. Having like the different people be under the mask of Michael Myers doesn't really kind of like bother because it's done so fleetingly and done so different. Nick Castle has this kind of just this walk and this ability, this almost kind of like just scary quality, like the stalking quality that I don't think anybody else had to the degree that he did. I think everybody else played Michael Myers afterwards were playing Nick Castle. That they were every single one of them, whether it was the head tilt, whether it was the way that they moved or they walked, was trying to be Nick Castle. None of them ever truly succeeded, and we'll go through that as we go through the other timelines. But not saying that they didn't do good jobs. It's just this is definitely. And here's a guy that went on he didn't go on to make other films. That was his, like as an actor. This was a guy that became a director, and he made some really good films too. We had a great cast both in front of and behind the scenes. And for me, Halloween 1978 is an absolute 5 out of 5.
Ooh. Well, right, I'm going to mix it. I'm going to mix it up here because I'm going to be, what's that called, The Outlier?
Yep.
I'm gonna say this movie is the worst movie out of all of them. No, not really. I love this movie. The reason I love Halloween, the original Halloween, is it feels like a mixture of the old classic horrors from the day, right, where you had that suspense, you had that atmosphere, you had that build-up. You didn't know when it was going to happen. Like, there's so much of Michael just standing around, staring, stalking, walking around. He's got a personality in this movie more than he does in most of the others. Like when he puts over the sheet on him, you know, it's like he's playing a game. In this movie, it's like he's playing a game. He's tormenting people before he kills them. He's watching them. He's stalking them. He's got them as his prey. I still think the best kill in this, when you take compared to the Rob Zombie one, is when he gets in the kitchen, he grabs the guy and just stabs him on like the closet, you know, on the food closet thing, like the pantry. Like, you're nothing. You're absolutely nothing. You're just another bit of waste in the way, you know. And how he strangles, is it, what's the name? When he's got the sheet on.
Oh, Linda.
Yeah, when he strangles Linda when she's on the phone. Right? All these things are a lot more things that you rarely see in any other Halloween movies. Because in this one, he's got personality. You know, you're seeing what he is. You're seeing and you feel that evil that runs through him. And then when you get to near the end with Jamie Lee Curtis, where he's finally, or Laurie Strode, when he's finally thinking, and Donald Pleasance, as Dr. Loomis, says, I shot him 6 times, right? That's the moment where the fear hits you, because you know he's either not human or he was wearing like a bulletproof vest or something, you know. And you're like, oh, he's still out there. So it was like the real defining moment for as him being like this evil entity. But when you left the cinema, it actually terrified you that this could happen, because he was human looking. You know, there was no, oh, he's an alien. There was no, oh, look, he's possessed. It's just an evil human at that point, you know, before they mixed it up and added other things to it. So, I genuinely feel, right, but the movie has such a great score, like you said. The score in this, in my view, is a lot better than the Friday the 13th score, because I feel like with the Halloween one, you can really feel the build-up in the thing, but it goes slowly. And as it gets more and more, as when you watch Friday the 13th, for instance, it feels more, do you know what I mean? Do you see what I mean? It feels a lot more suspenseful. And I do feel like this is a great part of what brought old horror into the new horror, right? Because there's barely any blood either. There ain't that much blood. You know what I mean? So, and I got to be honest, when he kills Annie Brackett in the car, I got to be honest, I think I would have tried sleeping with her at that point. You know, not killed her, but you know.
That's the scariest kill for me.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Right? And I will say this. Last thing I'll say about this is fantastic director. You can see why John Carpenter was so good in his prime. You can see why Nick Castle was probably the best Michael Myers, because there is that sense. Like, I'll give you an example. In the remake with the other guy, right, he moves around too much. He's too aggressive, too physical. Michael is always like, in this movie, is either killing you or he's walking towards you like he can take his time to kill you, right? In the remakes, he practically runs towards people, right?
It's like a Jason thing, the remakes. It's almost like Jason.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And that's the problem, if you ask me, because it ruins that suspense and atmosphere, the fact that Michael knows he's going to get you, you know? So, yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 all the way.
I think that the best sequences for me, like in this one, like the scary sequences, I'm not going to lie, it's not the stalking of Laurie, it's the stalking of Annie. From like, you know, where she spills the stuff and has to go out to, because the laundry is outside in the shed area. And we're seeing like the door kind of opens and closes, and we see, we suddenly see him there. There's a sequence where she's walking with the phone and he takes the plant and just, smashes it down. And it's just there's such a subtlety. Like Michael just kind of drifts on and off screen.
Yeah.
And other films would try to do this, but I think that other films would almost kind of jump scare it.
The thing with Michael as well is he moves so effortlessly, like Dracula in the old films. Like you feel his presence and you know the horror is there. And it just builds. And I like that. I think that is what makes this film probably the most superior one out of all of them.
Like I would say, so it's a 5 out of 5 for me. It's 5 out of 5 for Malcolm. What about you, Dad? Is that a 5 out of 5 for you too, or?
Oh, definitely 5 out of 5. Malcolm explained it perfectly, just the way I feel about it. After watching some of the later ones, where Michael Myers could have been anybody who shoved on a mask and kill people. The castle is just so perfect. And unlike Rob Zombie did, had a big hulking guy when he was the killer, and a sort of a hulking kid when he was younger, which made no sense to me. But with Nick Castle, he's an ordinary looking guy, a slim looking guy. He could have walked around the neighborhood with the mask on Halloween. Nobody would pay any attention to him unless he came out and killed him. So that's what I found. Give me the jitters. Is the fact
choosing Tony Moran to play like the face of Michael.
He could be anywhere. He's just a normal guy. What?
Well, choosing Tony Moran to play the face of Michael, we got to see having Tony Moran play Michael when the mask comes off for a second was perfect casting because he's just such a regular kind of.
That was good too.
It was very horrific as well at that moment.
That's what I mean. I really like when he took out the mask. It just showed that he was a regular guy.
Yeah.
See, I'm not being unfaithful by wearing a Welcome to Camp Crystal Lake shirt. It's just that.
Hey, look. Hey, I got 513 fun.
But see, I'm the only person to say true to our. No, like this was obviously this is a fantastic film.
I would have stayed true before I didn't see 5 and 6.
Well, we'll get into that actually in the next video, because that's tomorrow's. That's going to be tomorrow's timeline. We're going to look at 4, 5, and 6. But with that being said, guys, I think it's time to he came home, but rather than just have him come home, they continue that story with Halloween 2. And I guess, well, Malcolm, you go first for this one.
Sure. I'll go first. This is my favorite. This is my favorite Halloween sequel. It's interesting when you think about Jamie Lee Curtis. She should wear a wig throughout the whole movie, right? And basically, it's her wobbling around and being in a hospital bed. But I do like the characters in this movie. I like all of them. I like the nurses. I like the doctor. I like the paramedics. I like how it all lays out. What I don't like is how quiet the whole hospital is and how small it seems to be, because that's not realistic, right? But I will say, when Michael starts doing what he needs to do, like when he does with the security guards, you're like, great, they've kept the suspense, they've kept the atmosphere, like when the cat jumps out, the security guard. And I love how he's that little bit more aggressive, because he's frustrated because Laurie Strode got away, right? So when he puts that nurse's face in the hot water and pulls away, you're like, whoa. Right?
Yeah.
He's really angry, and he's got no problem with his hand at all when he does it. Right? The lighting in this is great. You feel claustrophobic to a degree because you feel like you're in a hospital. Every character is so oblivious to what's going on. I like the slight romance between her and the paramedic, and I like the kills. I will say, I think the revelation about him being Laurie Strode's brother should have been left out. I do think they should never have brought that in, because I feel like by bringing that in, it feels like you're making a reason for him to want to go to hospital. How about he's just a sick, evil human being who didn't get to kill the babysitter he wanted to kill, so he's gone to get her. There needed to be no family stuff, right? But then saying that would have made no sense for the rest of the films that came out after, right?
It
But
could actually, because all
Dom-
you have to say is like basically he didn't have the chance to kill Lori. She died in a car accident. So he's killing, what's left of Lori. He's
I
killing
guess, but there wouldn't. It just doesn't feel like there'd been as much purpose, I guess.
And it was
But
back in
yeah, we'll never
Haddonfield.
know, will we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing as well, which I will say, is Donald Pleasance is great in this movie. And the one thing we learn from this movie is you can get your eyes stabbed out and be set on fire and still be able to look through a mask at people in other films. I love the scene where he's like he walks and he falls down. I really remember thinking to myself, is he going to get back up? And when that police officer, they go, don't go near him, and he goes, And if I remember correctly, doesn't he lift someone up off? Doesn't he lift one nurses up off the ground with the thing?
Yeah, with the scalpel, like the nurse.
Yeah.
That's near the end where she.
I still think the best kill in a horror movie in a hospital is X-Ray. Where it runs up and stabs her through the shake. Yeah, I still love that kill. That's brilliant. And she's like, But yeah, this is a great sequel. It's got the theme, it's got everything, and on 4K, it looks phenomenal. This is the type of film that you need to watch back to back with the first one, right? But the first one doesn't need the sequel at all to fully enjoy it. I think if they'd have finished Halloween 1 with just that one, I think it would have been even more of a classic than it is now, because people won't think about the sequels after,
And you made a good point
Yeah.
there. Like when it comes to like these here, like these two, I think are definitely, these were really good 4K releases. So definitely the best way to own them is through their Scream Factory 4K releases that came out. So Dad, what was your thoughts on Halloween 2?
Probably, I say just probably the same as Malcolm. I thought it was a good sequel. They should have stopped when they did. And after the two guys got blown up, I think they should have let it rest. The sequels, just shouldn't have been made. But they're making money. It's a good franchise. They figured out, let's make a couple more. Figure out a couple stories, so they decided to make them relatives. But I enjoyed part 2. I really did. I saw this one in the theater too, and I thought it was half decent. The guy that played Michael Myers did a decent job in this one. I thought he was pretty good. And I like the kills. I don't know if it was the hot tub or the one in the hospital. Is it the hot tub or the girls having the?
Yeah, hot tub.
I forget what it is now, because I haven't watched this one. I haven't watched this one for a while. I didn't know till I was talking to Aaron earlier. We were doing these two, but this one I haven't watched. I own it, but I haven't watched it for ages. But
to be fair, that woman who gets killed, she's got a great pair on her as well, Glenn. That's why you remember it.
That's right. I always remember that. It sticks out to me. But no, I like this one. To me, it stopped at this one for the most part. There were a few good things about others, but I really like this one. That was a good sequel. Rob Zombie should have watched the two of them.
He did. That's the thing. I think that's part of the reason that it's hard when you're going to remake such a classic. But here's the thing. I actually really like this one. I think Dick Warlock was a nice successor to Nick Castle. He does a good job. I do think that he does it a little bit robotic. I'm not going to lie. I'm on because we got to be fair when it comes to like how we're going this. And I think that his type of walk actually works a little bit better in part 3 than it does here when he's actually playing a robotic character. Now, there's definitely a difference here because he is using the same mask, but he has a different facial shape than Nick Castle, and it's very like prevalent right out of the gate. Now, Leo Rossi stood out as a scene stealer for me. I've always been a fan of Leo Rossi as an actor. I like him in the Relentless series of films as well. But he is hilarious in this movie. He's the guy that that just won't shut up and is completely inappropriate. But he gets the hottest girl. Sadly, that not this time because of what happens. And Alicia from Falcon Crest has a small role in this as well. So it was neat to see her there. If you're like a soap opera fan, just keep an eye out for her.
Okay, the guy, I think it's Lloyd's love interest, that slips and knocks himself out on the blood.
It is Lance Guest. So Lance Guest from Last Starfighter, actually, is in this, and he lives because there's a deleted ending that showed them both alive at the end of the film. Now, here's the thing: I've always been like bothered by the shooting in the eye holes. Like how's he still moving? And two, how the hell's he's not seeing. Obviously, he's not seeing because he's doing the Ghost of Frankenstein type thing, But I don't think he was shot in the eyes. I don't think his eyes were shot out. I think he was shot here, and that's why the blood's come down here. So basically, he's been grazed. So I don't think it's a case of his eyes growing back, which a lot of people kind of joke about. Myself.
Well, they must have been because he can't see at all.
He can't. No, but that's the thing. If you were shot, okay, let's say you're shot like in a graze you right here, right?
It would go down there. It won't go down there.
If you've ever been at any type of head injury, and I remember as a kid, I must have been like 9 or 10 years old, and I was climbing up this hill in Corner Brook, just outside of Corner Brook, and this little girl there who decided that the best way to tell me that she liked me was to throw a big rock at my head. True story. So I get up and I'm like, I'm okay. I feel it feels kind of weird, right? So I put my hand to my head and I take my hand up and it's like caked in blood because you're gonna bleed. So if he's shot here, which is where then that's gonna it probably should have bled more, but it comes out this artistic license comes out like blood tears. Either way, it was well done. I think Donald Pleasance is even better in this film than he is in the first one. I love the beginning of the film. I love the this isn't. I've been trick or treated to death today. Death. You don't know the meaning of the word.
Oh, don't forget a love interest either. Don't forget he gets hit by the car and gets set on fire.
Oh yeah, Ben Tramer. We can't miss Ben Tramer. Ben Tramer will be the first person to have the light-haired Michael Myers mask. We'll see that come back actually.
Might be the last.
But she talks about Ben Tramer in the first movie. He gets blown up pretty much in the second one, and it is so obvious that it's not Michael Myers. He's not walking the same way. He's a different height. Like Donald Pleasance, Loomis, you should know this. This is your patient. I know he's wearing a mask now, but you just shot him at close range not that long ago. You should know that this much taller dude that's walking drunk, because that's what he's doing, is not Michael Myers. The one negative that I got to take out of this one is with Sam and Malcolm having the sister revelation. You can tell that was something that was created during Six Pack of Beer, which is what it was created. Basically, John Carpenter was making the script and he just got stuck, started drinking, came up with that idea. So that's exactly where it came from. But so that didn't make sense. But overall, we got a fantastic sequel. Pacing is great. I like the choice of making it on the same night. It just continues the flow, and it does continue a good flow of the film. But what we are seeing here is a difference, though, where the 78 film is high on the level of suspense. There's not a lot of gore. Yeah. There's just a flash, literally, of nudity with PJ Souls. Everything else has been amped up here. This is post Friday the 13th.
So what we have to remember is this is 1981, so it was in a completely different decade.
It is literally post Friday the 13th, and John Carpenter is very much aware of that. Slashers have started to become a thing. Friday 13th has brought about the body count. It has brought about the prerequisite nudity, and it's literally whereas Halloween made independent horror and brought slashers to the forefront. Friday the 13th in 1980 cemented it and gave us a whole like blueprint that we'd see for the next few years until 1984 when Nightmare on Elm Street, which switched that up. We would get the blueprint over and over again.
Yeah.
And even to the point where John Carpenter was influenced by Friday the 13th. Rick Rosenthal directed this one, not John Carpenter. And John Carpenter came in and added extra scenes because there wasn't enough blood. There wasn't enough like kind of nudity. There had to be more because the audience taste and the audience had changed. He said that this Rick Rosenthal version of it was still sticking on the 78 version of suspenseful, but one, Rick Rosenthal is not John Carpenter. We would find that out later. And two, audience taste had changed. So it had to change. There could only be 178 if you're going to go on and do like a follow-up, a solid follow-up. This is exactly what you do as a solid follow-up. This is a great two-film set. Watching these back-to-back, and that's the way I watch them.
It does feel like actual continuation perfectly as well.
It's great. It's a fantastic continuation. I actually went and watched the theatrical cut afterwards. Not theatrical, sorry, the TV cut, which is a lot of fun too. We put in those extra scenes. Not needed, but there's some fun scenes there. It was especially you got like Sam Loomis kind of talking to the board about like Michael, and we get to see like Laurie.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember those bits. Yeah.
Yeah, I get to see little Laurie, like young Laurie, going in to see Michael, and he's like staring away, and like I'm just like really sullen and kind of emo. But I absolutely adored this film. Again, for me, like it's still another 5 out of 5. I think it's a fantastic follow-up, and I don't think you could get much better for a follow-up than this right here.
Yeah.
Score as well. Score
because it stays true to the original in a lot of ways.
It does. It stays true, but it manages to progress. And it's easy to like make the same film. They could have literally just made Halloween over again and not took any chances. But they did take some chances. More blood, more nudity, adding in some extra elements, some, having it at a set at the hospital. There's a whole lot to like about this. Yes, we do get a lot of like we get the score from like, and we get an updated score. We get a kind of a bit more jazz, a kind of rock-esque aspect to the score. I love the opening, by the way. We got the kind of the pumpkin opening in the first one, and we get this like pumpkin skeleton face, kind of just like, it's really scary. And I think that the addition of Mr. Sandman at the end of the film is like chef's kiss.
That is great. That is awesome.
Absolutely. And it's, Mr. Sandman for friggin' years, whenever I hear that on the radio, scare the crap out of me because of this movie.
So what's your rating, Glenn?
Well, my rating, I agree with both of you. It's a 5 out of 5 for me too. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
It's like you said, it was a total continuance after his first movie. It was like you're watching the first movie, going on. You're just watching it.
If they'd been edited together,
like
you'd think they were the same, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be easy to make out edit like a big edit for make this one film, right?
Yeah.
Now, kind of ironically, guys, he initially wasn't going to do it like this.
Like you said,
oh no, go ahead.
I thought you were freezing.
Oh no.
I thought you were froze up there.
No, initially.
No, I finished.
Oh, okay. Initially,
No, I finished. You go
basically,
ahead.
this was going to be set a few years later at and they were going to set it like basically Laurie at I think it was going to be in an apartment building.
Oh.
But he chose to do it the same night instead.
I actually think it probably worked out better this way, to be honest.
Oh, 100%. The Golden Girls.
You know what sequel I wish they'd have done? The My Bloody Valentine one.
That would have been good.
At the fairground and all that, when it turned into that would have been amazing.
Oh, that's what we got to do. You know what we got to do? We got to like talk about movies that almost were that
We should do that, yeah. definitely.
But with
We need
that
to
being
get a
said,
list and then talk about it.
exactly. Now, with that being said, guys, we're going to be coming back here tomorrow to talk about numbers 4, 5, and 6. I'm interested to get your guys' opinions on that, especially my dad, because I don't think he liked him as quite as much as he liked these films here.
Oh, nice. And we'll listen to you first then, Glenn.
So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for that are watching right now. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you want to catch our rankings on all these timelines, we're ranking the timelines live here
Yeah.
on October 7th, and on Patreon. It's a Patreon exclusive, so be on Patreon for that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Also, guys, give Glenn a big thumbs up.
Hell yeah! We have the Phantom of the Movie Library.
Yep.
Right on.
And we'll see you guys here next time
Ah.
in Cult Cinema.
See you soon.